It was a sunny Saturday afternoon in Los Angeles, and my sister, Holly, had somehow convinced our parents to host a small family barbecue at our childhood home. I had been looking forward to catching up, but a subtle unease gnawed at me. Holly had a reputation for teasing me mercilessly, usually in private, but today I had a sinking feeling it would be in front of a crowd. I parked my car in the driveway, took a deep breath, and stepped onto the familiar lawn. Our parents were busy setting up the grill, and a few cousins milled around, drinks in hand. Holly greeted me with a grin that didn't reach her eyes. "Hey, Emily," she called out, her voice dripping with mischief. "Ready to make a fool of yourself?" I blinked, taken aback. "Excuse me?" Holly laughed. "Relax, I'm just kidding, mostly. You know everyone loves your stories." I forced a smile, though my stomach tightened. Her humor could be biting, and I wasn't entirely sure what she meant by mostly. By early afternoon, the barbecue was in full swing. Cousins, aunts, uncles, and neighbors had joined, and the backyard was filled with laughter and the scent of grilled burgers. Holly had commandeered the microphone, some novelty she had bought for karaoke nights, and now, she announced theatrically, a little bit of family fun. I groaned inwardly. Fun in Holly's vocabulary usually meant humiliation. She pointed the microphone at me. "Emily, tell everyone what you've been up to lately. Don't be shy." I hesitated. My recent life had been a bit underwhelming. I had been working as a freelance graphic designer, taking odd projects and saving money to move out of my parents' house. Not exactly glamorous, and certainly nothing to broadcast at a family barbecue. "Well, I stammered, feeling my cheeks heat. Holly leaned closer to the mic. "Come on, don't be modest, or should I tell them?" I froze. "Tell me what?" She grinned devilishly. "Oh, you know. How Emily is still mooching off mom and dad. Rent-free, 3 meals a day, laundry service. The works." A ripple of laughter ran through the backyard. I felt my stomach drop. Some of my cousins were already smirking, holding their drinks like they were watching a sitcom unfold live. I opened my mouth to protest, but Holly cut me off. "Don't be embarrassed, it's true. She's practically part of the furniture." I laughed nervously, trying to save face. Okay, you got me. I'm working on it, I promise." Holly didn't let up. "Oh, I know. We're all rooting for you. But seriously, it's 2026. How are you still mooching?" The crowd chuckled, and my parents exchanged uneasy glances. Mom mouthed, "Stop it, Holly," but her fingers were full of salad tongs. I felt my face burning, a mix of embarrassment and frustration. I am doing my best, I thought, but somehow, Holly's joke had turned a casual afternoon into a public roast. After a few more jabs, Holly finally handed me the microphone. "All right, Emily," she said, her eyes twinkling with mischief. "Your turn to say something." I took a deep breath and decided to confront the situation with humor, even if it stung. "Well, I guess it's true," I said, letting the words roll off my tongue. "I do live with my parents. But let me tell you, it's a tough job keeping them fed and making sure the laundry doesn't take over the house. Someone's got to do it." The crowd laughed, this time in a lighter, more supportive way. I smiled, feeling the tension ease. Holly raised an eyebrow, clearly impressed by my quick recovery. "Not bad, sis. Not bad at all." As the afternoon went on, I realized Holly's roast, while embarrassing, had opened a strange space for self-expression. I started sharing stories about my freelance projects, showing some of my designs on my phone, and even explaining my plans to move into my own apartment soon. The crowd, initially entertained by Holly's jokes, became genuinely interested in my work. Holly, sensing the shift, gave me a sly smile. "See? I knew everyone would want to hear about your life after all." I nodded, acknowledging that her teasing, though sharp, had created an opportunity for me to step forward and reclaim the narrative. By evening, the barbecue had wound down. Holly approached me privately, still holding her mischievous grin. "You know, you handled that well," she said softly. I didn't think you'd recover from my joke so fast. I shrugged. Thanks, I guess, but seriously, you could have warned me, she laughed. Where's the fun in that? Besides, you needed the practice. Life's full of moments like that. Public scrutiny, family jokes, people questioning your choices. You handled it. That's what matters. Her words lingered in my mind as I drove home later that night. What had started as humiliation had turned into a lesson in confidence, resilience, and self-expression. Holly's joke, though sharp, had forced me to step up, show my worth, and embrace my life without apology. The Monday after the barbecue, I returned to the office feeling a mix of relief and residual embarrassment. My family's playful, but cutting, commentary still lingered in my mind. Holly's joke had gone viral among relatives, or at least that's how it felt. My phone buzzed constantly with text messages from cousins, friends of friends, and even my old college roommate, all laughing about my mooching status. I sighed, rubbing my temples. Somehow, Holly's mischievous roast had become more than just a joke. It had become a defining narrative for my life. At work, my coworker, Ryan, noticed my distracted mood.
Hey, Em, you okay? You look like someone just roasted you in front of a crowd.
I forced a laugh. Something like that. Family barbecue on Saturday. My sister went full stand-up comedy on me. Ryan raised an eyebrow. Ouch, that sounds brutal. It was, I admitted. And now the texts aren't stopping. Apparently I'm famous for living rent-free at my parents' house. Ryan chuckled. Well, if you can't beat the jokes, maybe you can join them. Humor is the best revenge, right? Back home that evening, I opened my laptop, determined to take control of the narrative. I decided to post a funny response to Holly's roast on social media. I crafted a witty caption under a throwback childhood photo. Yes, I still live at home. Yes, I get 3 meals a day. And yes, I occasionally sneak dessert before dinner. Hashtag mooching like a pro. Hashtag family roast BRIHT post. And brace myself for the inevitable reactions. Within minutes, likes and comments flooded in. Some teasing, some supportive, and a few Eva and suggesting that my mooching life sounded enviable. Holly, of course, saw it immediately. She called me later that evening. Nice post, Emily, she said, laughing. I see you've decided to embrace the roast. I figured I'd take control of the story, I replied. Why let you have all the fun? She chuckled. Touché. But don't think this means I'm done. You've only survived the first round. I groaned. Oh no, there's a second round? You'll see, she said, mischievously. Family game night is coming up, and I've been planning some interactive jokes. The next weekend, family game night arrived. Our parents had set up the living room with board games, snacks, and drinks. Holly, predictably, had positioned herself as the host and chief entertainer. As soon as everyone settled, she clapped her hands for attention. All right, everyone, time for a little game I like to call roast and toast. I groaned internally. The theme was clear. Everyone would have to roast each other in a light-hearted way, and naturally, I was the first target. Holly turned to me with a devilish grin. Emily, why don't you start us off by telling everyone how you've been surviving at Mom and Dad's place all this time? I took a deep breath, realizing I had a choice, panic or reclaim control. Well, I said slowly, I've been living here rent-free, yes, but in my defense I've also been contributing in other ways. I cook, I clean, and I occasionally pretend to listen to Dad's conspiracy theories about he government. And I've been working hard on my freelance projects, so really, I'm adding value, just not financial value yet. The room erupted in laughter, not at me but with me. Even Holly looked impressed, her grin softening slightly. Holly wasn't ready to let me off the hook. Not bad, Emily, she said, smirking. But let's be honest. If you didn't have your parents feeding you, you'd probably be eating cereal for dinner every night. I laughed and raised an eyebrow. Perhaps, but then I'd be cultivating resilience. And that's priceless, right? The room laughed again, and even Mom, who had looked nervous at first, clapped her hands. I like how you're handling this, Emily. You've turned it into a lesson in creativity and humor. As the night progressed, the roasts continued, but the dynamic shifted. Holly's jabs, though still sharp, were now met with witty comebacks or humorous self-deprecation from me. I realized that I didn't have to feel embarrassed. I could participate in the joke while maintaining my dignity. By the end of the evening, Holly leaned toward me during a break and whispered, "You're getting better at this. I almost enjoy our little battles now." I smiled. "I'm learning from the best, apparently." Her laugh was genuine this time. "Exactly. And that's the point. Family is supposed to challenge you and maybe embarrass you, but it's also about laughing together." The following week, the social media post I had made about mooching like a pro gained track. See on beyond my immediate family. Friends tagged me in memes, co-workers joked about it, and even my boss mentioned it during a lighthearted lunch. I realized that Holly's joke, though uncomfortable at first, had given me a chance to showcase humor, resilience, and creativity. It was a strange transformation. What started as a public roast had become an opportunity to assert myself, turn vulnerability into strength, and embrace the attention in a positive way. By the end of part 2, I understood something crucial. Holly's teasing was more than just jokes. It was a test. And through humor, quick thinking, and honesty, I had begun to pass it, not by hiding, but by embracing it. I felt a sense of empowerment I hadn't expected. The family dynamics, which once felt like a minefield, were now a playground. I had learned how to navigate ridicule, assert my worth, and even enjoy the challenge. And deep down, I knew this was only the beginning. Holly had more tricks up her sleeve, but I was ready. I was no longer just the target of her jokes. I was a player in the game. A week later, Holly informed me that our extended family was organizing a brunch at a local country club. "It's casual," she had said, "but with a little fun twist. You know, for tradition." I knew exactly what that meant. The last time we had a fun twist, I had ended up the centerpiece of a roast in front of 100 people. Despite my nerves, I decided to go. I didn't want to hide from my own family, and I had learned a little from the previous week. Humor could be my shield. The country club was elegant, with tall windows letting in sunlight, chandeliers, and a balcony overlooking manicured gardens. Our aunts and uncles were already there, laughing and sipping mimosas. Cousins hovered near the buffet table, whispering and giggling. And there was Holly, sitting at the head of the table, looking like she had been born for mischief. "Emily," she called as soon as I arrived, waving dramatically. "Come on in. We were just talking about your remarkable achievements." I forced a smile, trying to appear nonchalant. "Oh, really? Do tell." "Oh, don't worry," Holly said, eyes sparkling. "We've got a list. And I've brought my microphone this time just to make sure everyone hears." I groaned quietly. Of course she brought a microphone. The brunch began with small talk, laughs about the weather, the new neighbor's puppy. But it wasn't long before Holly struck. She tapped the microphone and clinked it against her glass. "Attention, family." All eyes turned toward her. "I've something important to announce." A cousin whispered, "Oh no, here it comes." "Emily," Holly began, pointing at me with mock severity, "has bravely continued her mission to live rent-free in our parents' house while conquering the world, or at least that's what she tells herself." The room erupted in laughter. I felt my cheeks flush, but I reminded myself of last week's lesson. Humor first, panic later. "Yep," I said, lifting my coffee cup as if to toast. "Living the dream, folks. 3 meals a day, laundry included, and full access to mom's cookies. Truly, my empire grows stronger every day." The laughter shifted from mockery to appreciation. Even Holly raised an eyebrow, clearly impressed that I hadn't shrunk from the joke. Holly wasn't done. "And that's not all," she said, pacing dramatically. "Emily's freelance career has been interesting. She's learning valuable life lessons like patience when clients ignore emails and resilience when they disappear for weeks." I chuckled. "Yes, those are truly vital skills. Plus, I've learned negotiation tactics from dealing with Peter. I mean, clients who think deadlines are optional." The room roared. Even my mom laughed openly this time. Holly shot me a look, clearly surprised. You see, she said, mock surrendering. Emily has a way of winning people over even when they start by roasting her. Incredible. I grinned. That's called turning adversity into opportunity, dear sister. Holly laughed, shaking her head. All right, I see you've grown sharper, but watch out. Next family event, I'll step it up. After brunch, my cousins pulled me aside. Emily, one said, that was amazing. You didn't just survive Holly's roast, you turned it into a highlight. You should be proud. I'm learning, I admitted, smiling. And I realized something. Family jokes, as brutal as they are, can be opportunities. If you handle them right, they show people who you really are. Later that afternoon, Holly approached me privately. Emily, I have to confess, she said softly, lowering her voice. I planned today's roast because I thought you'd crumble, but you didn't. You handled it better than I expected. You're impressive. I laughed quietly. Thanks, Holly. That actually means a lot. She grinned. Don't let it go to your head. But yes, you've earned some credit. Just remember, I'm still plotting the next roast. Consider it motivation. Despite the warning, I felt lighter. Our sibling rivalry had transformed. It was no longer just a source of stress. Holly's teasing had become a game, one I could play and even win without losing my dignity. By the time I got home, my phone was buzzing again, but this time it was different. Messages of admiration and humor poured in from friends and colleagues. One friend wrote, I wish my family had your sense of humor. Another sent a meme, humorously depicting me lounging with a crown and a banner reading Queen of Mooching. I laughed, realizing the narrative had shifted. What had started as a potentially humiliating public roast had turned into recognition of my wit, charm, and resilience. That night, I reflected on what had happened over the past month. Holly's jokes, though sometimes sharp, had forced me to confront embarrassment, think on my feet, and embrace humor as a tool. I had learned to navigate public scrutiny, turn vulnerability into strength, and even earn respect from the very purrs. On trying to embarrass me, I realized that sometimes family challenges aren't meant to break you. They're meant to teach you how to handle life with grace, confidence, and a little bit of humor. And Holly? She wasn't the enemy. She was a surprisingly effective teacher, pushing me to develop a thicker skin, a sharper wit, and a sense of pride in my own accomplishments, even if I hadn't moved out yet. I had discovered an essential truth. Being the butt of a joke didn't make me weak. My reaction, how I reclaimed the narrative, used humor, and maintained dignity, was what defined me. And for the first time, I felt fully in control of the story, ready for whatever Holly and life threw at me next. The week after the brunch brought a new wave of reflection. Holly's public roast had stirred something inside me. I realized that while I had embraced humor to survive her teasing, there was a bigger lesson. I wanted independence, not just to avoid jokes, but to prove to myself that I could stand on my own. I began making plans. My freelance projects were growing, and I had saved enough for a small apartment downtown. The idea of living independently excited me, but it also made me nervous. How would my family react? Would Holly turn my announcement into another public spectacle? Tuesday evening, I called Mom. Hey, Mom, can we talk about something? Of course, honey, she said warmly. Everything okay? I've been thinking, I want to move out, I said, my voice a mixture of excitement and apprehension. There was a pause on the other end. Emily, I mean, it's your choice, of course. We'll support you. But I thought you were comfortable here? I am, I admitted. But I want to challenge myself. I want to manage my own space, finances, and life. I think it's time. Mom sighed, softly proud. I understand. We'll help however we can. But you'll have to face Holly's reaction. I groaned. I know. That's what I'm worried about. The next family gathering came sooner than I anticipated. Holly had organized a casual Friday night dinner with just the immediate family. I decided to announce my plans there. After all, hiding it would only give her more ammunition for jokes. As I arrived, she greeted me with a sly grin. "So, still moocher extraordinaire, or have you finally decided to graduate?" I laughed nervously. "Funny you mention it. I actually have an announcement." She leaned forward, curiosity flickering in her eyes. "Oh, this should be good." I cleared my throat. "I've decided to move into my own apartment. I'll be living independently starting next month." For a moment there was silence. Holly blinked, processing my words. "Wait, what?" "I'm serious," I said, smiling. "It's time I step into the next chapter." Mom clapped softly. "I'm proud of you, Emily." Holly, after a moment, burst out laughing. "Well, I didn't see that coming. So, does this mean I lose my favorite target?" I rolled my eyes but couldn't hide my smile. "You'll have to find someone else." She leaned back in mock contemplation. I'll think of something." The announcement wasn't just about moving out. It sparked conversations about my career, independence, and self-reliance. Cousins asked questions about rent, budgeting, and apartment hunting. Aunt Karen offered advice on decorating. Even Holly, despite her teasing, gave practical tips. "Make sure you have good locks," she said. "And don't buy too many throw pillows. You'll never clean them." I laughed. Noted. Over the next week, I began apartment hunting. Holly called almost daily, half to tease, half to genuinely help. "Emily, seriously, don't rent somewhere with paper-thin walls," she said during one call. "Otherwise, every sneeze will be a broadcast to the neighbors." "You're actually giving good advice," I said. She laughed. "I have my moments, but only because I know what it's like to live under family scrutiny." Her teasing had evolved into mentorship. I realized that Holly's constant jokes weren't just humor. They were lessons forcing me to prepare, adapt, and grow. By mid-month, I had found a small apartment downtown. Cozy, affordable, and perfect for my needs. Holly, predictably, wanted to be the first to visit. "You better have stocked the fridge with snacks," she joked as she stepped inside. I laughed. "You're the one who taught me that independence doesn't mean going hungry." She grinned. "Touché. But seriously, Em, this is really cool. I'm proud of you. Don't let anyone make you doubt yours." Elf. I felt a warm sense of accomplishment. Holly's teasing had become less about humiliation and more about challenging me to be my best self. A few days later, I hosted a small dinner at my new apartment. Holly arrived first, naturally. She inspected the space with exaggerated scrutiny. Minimalist. I approve. But where are the comfy chairs? And where's the statement lamp? I laughed. "You'll have to help me decorate. But first, let's eat." As we shared pizza and wine, she turned to me and said softly, "Emily, you've really grown up. You didn't just survive my jokes. You've become stronger, smarter, and funnier because of them." I smiled. "Thanks, Holly. Couldn't have done it without you constantly keeping me on my toes." Her grin widened. "Well, don't think I'm finished yet, but I'll admit it's fun watching you thrive." By the end of part 4, I realized something crucial. Holly's jokes, though challenging, had taught me resilience, humor, and self-confidence. My independence wasn't just about living in a new apartment. It was about navigating family dynamics, embracing challenges, and asserting my worth. Holly had become more than a teasing sister. She had become a catalyst for growth. And for the first time, our rivalry felt like a partnership, one built on love, humor, and mutual respect. I couldn't wait to see what she would throw at me next. But now, I knew I could handle it. The morning of my big move arrived with a mix of excitement and nerves. Boxes lined the living room of our childhood home, each labeled meticulously: kitchen, bedroom, books, and miscellaneous. Mom hovered nearby, clutching a clipboard. Holly, of course, had arrived early, ready to supervise, or sabotage, I wasn't sure which. "Good morning, Emily," Holly said with a wide grin. "Ready to leave the nest, or at least the couch?" I laughed, shaking my head. "I think I'm ready. Just don't start roasting me before breakfast." "Not promising anything," she teased. patting a box dramatically as if it held my dignity. Mom handed me a cup of coffee. "I'm proud of you," she said softly. "This is a big step, honey, not just for moving out, but for taking control of your life." I felt a warmth spread through me. "Thanks, Mom, that really means a lot." Holly, of course, had a plan. As we loaded boxes into my car, she held up her phone. "I'm live streaming this," she said, grinning. "Family and friends get to witness Emily finally leaving the safe confines of Mom and Dad's house." I groaned. "Holly, that's not funny," she laughed. "It's funny because it's true. Don't worry, you'll be a viral sensation in no time." Despite her teasing, I realized something. Holly had always had a flair for dramatics, but today, her humor was a celebration rather than humiliation. Once at my new apartment, I began unloading the boxes. Holly insisted on inspecting every room. "Bedroom looks cozy," she said. "And you even remembered the lamp I recommended." "Impressive," I smiled. "See, I can take you our advice and still survive your jokes." She laughed. "True, but let's see if you survive assembling that IKEA bookshelf without crying." I rolled my eyes but secretly appreciated her presence. Holly's teasing had always been relentless, but now it felt supportive, a reminder that she cared, even in her own chaotic way. That evening, after all the boxes were unpacked and my furniture arranged, Holly plopped onto the couch dramatically. "Okay, Emily, I'll admit. You did it. You've officially become independent. You survived my roasts, took advice from me and Mom, and didn't run back crying to your old room." "I'm impressed," I laughed. "Thanks, Holly. That's high praise coming from you." She smirked. "And just so you know, I may continue my teasing, but now it'll be an admiration." I shook my head, smiling. "I'll take that." The next week brought more social interactions. Friends visited my new apartment, all eager to see the fabled Mooching former apartment transformed into an independent space. Holly came along for a few visits, acting as my personal tour guide. This used to be the living room where Emily plotted how to mooch off Mom and Dad indefinitely. She joked to everyone. "Now look at her, independent, thriving, and still managing to make her own bed." Everyone laughed, but I noticed something different. Holly's jokes were no longer sharp enough to sting. They had become affectionate, a way of highlighting how far I'd come. Over dinner one night, Holly raised her glass. "Emily, I have to say, watching you grow these past months has been entertaining, educational, and honestly inspiring. I expected to roast you into tears, but you've handled everything with humor and strength. Cheers to that." I clinked my glass with hers. "Thanks, Holly. Couldn't have done it without you pushing me hard." She laughed. "You're welcome. Consider it my gift to you." A few days later, Mom and Dad dropped by to help with a few remaining boxes. "We're so proud of you, Emily," Dad said, adjusting a picture frame. "This apartment, your career, your independence, it's all impressive." "Thanks, Dad," I said. "I couldn't have done it without your support and Holly's relentless motivation." Mom laughed. "We know Holly can be intense, but she's taught you resilience. It's good to see it paying off." Holly smirked. "See, I do more than roast you. I prepare you for life." I rolled my eyes, but deep down, I agreed. Holly's teasing, though relentless, had shaped me in ways nothing else could. By the time the weekend rolled around, I hosted a small housewarming party. Holly, naturally, took the lead in welcoming guests and cracking jokes. "Welcome to Emily's new apartment. She's finally learned to cook for herself and even make her own bed. It's miraculous." Guests laughed, but I noticed the glances. They weren't mocking me. They were impressed. I realized that Holly's jokes had served another purpose, to highlight my growth. Every laugh was now recognition rather than ridicule. Later that evening, as the party wound down, Holly pulled me aside. "Emily, I want to say something serious. You've really grown. You handled my jokes, took control of your life, and became independent. I'm proud of you." I felt my chest tighten. "Thanks, Holly. That really means a lot." She grinned. "Don't let it go to your head. But also, don't forget I'm still your sister, and teasing you is kind of my job." I laughed, hugging her. I wouldn't have it any other way. By the end of the week, I understood the full arc of my journey. Holly's jokes, public roasts, and constant teasing had initially caused embarrassment and doubt, but they had also pushed me to grow, assert myself, and take control of my life. My independence was more than just living in a new apartment. It was a testament to my resilience, humor, and ability to thrive under pressure. Holly's teasing had transformed from humiliation into support, from ridicule into encouragement. Our sibling rivalry had evolved into mutual respect, understanding, and love. And as I sat on my new couch, sipping coffee and looking around my apartment, I felt a quiet pride. I had faced the roast, survived, and emerged stronger, wiser, and more confident. More stories will keep coming, so please don't forget to like and subscribe.